Andrew, go ahead.
Okay, so the first item, I'm happy to do that. The first item on the agenda is the Public Art Advisory Board, and I think we just kind of wanted to give a quick update. We're moving forward with the mission statement and table of contents, and then looking to write out different sections of a public art plan, internally for the advisory board to review at this point. We do have one member that has not attended any meetings, and I briefly talked to Sam about this, and Marissa, not sure what your feelings would be, but I mean, our group is working pretty well right now, and they seem to be pretty cohesive. So I'm not sure if we want to expand to one more person at this point, or if we feel like it would be okay just to keep the group we do have. And if we do, then it would be a matter of then just getting the input from you all on the next choice based on the original scoring for the applicants, and reaching out to them to see if they're still interested.
My thoughts on that are, I'd like to stick with the original number that we first came up with to stay consistent and replace this person that's not showing up. I do agree, Andrew, the group's working together wonderfully, but I'd like to stick with the original plan myself. That would be my vote. Sam, how do you feel?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've looked at the 4 or 5 remaining applicants, and none of them are really sticking out to me. I mean, right now, if the group's working well, and you bring somebody else new, you got to bring them up to speed. But you're the liaison. I mean, you've been attending the meetings.
I mean, right that's nothing that I would be overly stressed about if we stuck with what we had. Especially if we don't have the candidates to put in that slot. So you just want to leave it as is, Sam?
That's my recommendation.
Okay. All right, Andrew, let's just leave it as is. Short the one person.
Okay. And we will look to, given with the holiday season, and then just being short-staffed here, we probably would look to take a little bit of a break before we pull things together. And I don't want to speak for you, Marissa, but it sounded like you were okay with that.
Yeah, Sam, I had recommended to Andrew, because creating the dialogue for that arts board, it's a little cumbersome and it requires a lot of staff time because they're putting together all of the details related to this. And it's been a little bit of a struggle with all the recent changes. And so I requested that November and December be put off until January, and not to add any more stress to anybody in the committee. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can agree with that, because like I said, last night town council has decided not to do November, December, the last 2 meetings, and I think right now we're getting too many holidays coming up on us.
Okay, sounds good. Andrew, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that should apply, Sam, to central business as well as the arts committee?
The what now? I'm sorry.
Do you want that lull in meetings to apply also to central business, or just the arts committee?
You say special business?
Yeah, so if we took November and December off, do you want that to apply to this central business committee meeting as well as the public art board?
I do, and I think it's on our agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I mean, right now we get, holidays are coming up on us and all this other stuff. So, a couple months, it's not going to hurt anyone.
Okay.
And that's all I had for the advisory board. If we would want to skip down to C on the agenda real quick and cover that.
Right.
Certainly could do that. November and December meetings do fall respectively on Thanksgiving week and on Christmas week. And the town offices, as declared by a state holiday, would be closed on that Wednesday And I'm not sure about the Wednesday before Christmas. But it may, offices may be closed as well. But at any rate, would we want to consolidate to have a meeting at the beginning of December, or would we want to just take off and pick up back up in January?
I say pick up in January.
November and a date in December.
I'll go along with Sam.
What, January?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
I think right now with COVID and all of the changes, we're having less events. So the need for us to meet so much right now, our priorities have shifted a little bit. And it
Correct.
depends on how we handle items on D, as if we'd need to communicate again.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you, Sam.
Cool. So that kind of bumps us back to item B, farmers market update. And I know Marty's been working hard to bring some information to you all.
Everyone hear me? Of course, tomorrow we're dealing with what could be hurricane wind and rain. We're just going to have to wait and play it by ear to see how soon that might. Right now, the weather forecast has the storm moving very fast, so it could be out of here by 3 or 4 o'clock. The last day of the market, we had several things set. We had United Way at the market. They were going to give free T-shirts out to as many as 500 people. The vendor decorating contest, and we was going to try to have the pumpkins from the town down there and do some voting down there. That might be changed. But again, it's our last one in the market season, so we was hoping for good weather. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, to get you up to speed on Christmas at the market, again, that's going to be Thursday, December 10th from 4 to 8 p.m. in conjunction with the tree lighting. It's going to be on Main Street. We're going to close the street. And the police department's going to work with us at we'll start moving some cars. We're working with the bank. They're going to keep their drive-through open until 1 p.m., but they've approved it through corporate. They're going to close at 1. So our barricades will be in place as soon as they close at that spot. I've met with a lot of the downtown businesses, and we're working around their schedule. One of the good things that I mentioned last meeting is we're not going to move the truck from the present spot that I showed you last time. It won't be moved from that spot at the drive-through until the square until 5 o'clock, which allows the antique mall to remain open and have the parking lot open so that we cooperate with them. I met with them last week, and they don't plan to be open past 5 o'clock, but they appreciate that the town was working with them. The market opens at 4 and we'll go to 8, and the tree lighting is scheduled for 6:30. Again, we're looking right now at it'll be on Main Street, and we've got it measured out that we'll have anywhere from 12 to 20 feet between each booth. Working with the health department, and they feel comfortable that we do the spacing and the barricades similar to what we've done at the farmers market. Everything should be okay. We'll monitor the numbers going in and out of the 2 entrances and exits, and we'll work with right now we're not going to have any food vendors. We will have kettle corn, but that way we avoid any long-term social distancing problem. There'll be no live music or anything like that. To get you up to date on the social media, in the last 30 days, we've reached 21,336 people on through Facebook. And our sustainability project, we got 500 pounds of plastic bags in 3 months. That blew the company away because they didn't expect us to get it till December. We're going to start a new one in January, and they're making a bench that will be made out of the Trex material. Is on its way, and it should be here anytime now. The plan is to put it on display in the recreation center and talk about, that the plastic bag project led to that, and hope us to continue a sustainability project again at the first of the year. Now, we have not stopped collecting bags. So that's the fun part. We're continuing to collect bags here and at the market. And in 3 weeks, I've collected 110 pounds of plastic bags already. So it's really been a great thing for the town and the sustainability projects.
Hey, Marty, when it comes to the bench, you know, we had discussed that before in central business to try to put some of those on pickoff. Is there any cost? I mean, you have to pay the company to do the service. What final cost is it for a bench?
Nothing. It's zero.
Really?
Yeah.
So we give them all those bags and get it back for free? How do they cover their work?
That's just part of the recycling. There's 18 projects underway in Christiansburg. 18 bench projects are currently underway. That includes churches and civic groups. A couple of civic groups have even approached me. They said they're having problems collecting bags. I'm like, well, I don't understand that because we've had no problem. But, you know, there's 18 benches being created through the recycling program in Christiansburg right now. So,
nice.
You know,
I thought I have heard that there was a program through the state that they could get some of the financial money recuperated by the companies. So it may be a grant, Marisa. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know anything about that, but they've been doing it for a while. I know Blacksburg Recreation Department did it, but our bench should be here shortly. And they've already said we can do another one at January 1st because ours is supposed to last to December 31st. And, you know, we got through September 16th that we'd collected 500 pounds. Our young entrepreneur project, the kids club that I started and we started had over 100 participated this year. Over 100 kids participated and sold goods they either baked, made, or produced down at the market. So we hope to continue that. So that was a great success on that. Our attendance has surpassed 6,000 this year, with estimated over 47,000 in vendor sales. You know, so that's way up. And you know, myself and Sam talked about it last week. It was interesting that we had some of the best weather last week, and we had one of the lower attendance days as we get towards the end of the season. It seems like when it rains, then people still come out after the rain. So we've been very lucky that this year. Looking at the future, the Virginia Farmers Market Association, we met earlier this week, and they're already anticipating we're going to be under some restrictions through May, at least May of next year, when they look at the farmers market. So we're already anticipating that. You know, we won't open until May 22nd, but the first part of the market could be under some restrictions. So we'll continue to look at that and play it out, but we could be facing some of the similar ones we did.
What is the max amount of people that you are actually able to get through coming through the street each week? Is that based on the time frame, or what is that based under? I know the space has a lot to do with it, but
I really don't think it, you know, we've had any really true hindrances this year. I mean, you know, we started out, you know, the first month we had the problem with local produce and the season being late. And, you know, right now we've got 2 vendors that still have produce. One last week still had red and green tomatoes. And, you know, that's unusual. And maybe just because the season is later this year. You know,
we're just getting our tomatoes right now.
Yeah, I mean, tomatoes were so late, you know, people would come looking for tomatoes and most of our vendors didn't have them. One of the big pluses towards the end of the year, we've got 3 vendors, produce vendors from Wythe County. So they're starting to come from longer distance. You know, we got that 100-mile radius. And some of them go to markets on Saturday, so they see Thursday as just a secondary market for them. And that's been, you know, been good for ones that have late produce. The big thing I want to bring to you today is the breakdown that we talked about last week or last month on the temporary market. You know, it's coming upon us here. you know, after what we're looking at, the construction schedule will put us off of any site for at least 2 years down there, and then we'll have to look at a temporary site. Like I told you last time, we started with 39 possible public and private sites that had been mentioned and looked at over the past 4 years. We narrowed it down to 19, and we took those 19 and applied 14 parameters. One was location, one was visibility, one was parking, vendor space. And when you look at vendor space, we looked at it in the excess of 20 to 25 minimum spaces, flat surface, whether construction would be needed, electricity, bathrooms, downtown location, accessibility, private versus public, and whether money would be needed to rent, and then of course paved surface. After the breakdown on the parameters, and this is only going with the parameters, it's not really any true choices, but by the parameters, and we have 3 public and 2 private locations that ended up being the final 5 to look at, and we can go back and look at the other parameters too. The spaces included the skate park parking lot, public lot, and the overflow lot at the Aquatic Center. That met 7 to 8 of the parameters in the categories. Pepper Street private lot that we talked about, somewhat limited to parking. Private owners have been contacted and are open to it. It met 7 categories. That's the lot to the rear of the Hardee's location off Roanoke Street. It's located on Pepper Street, the second building on the left. The third spot was St. Paul Methodist Church. That's a private lot near the downtown. They have been contacted and are awaiting discussion by the church board. That's a lot off College Street, but still accessible from Main Street. That met 8 of the categories. And the other 2 are Recreation Center front parking lot and back parking lot. The back parking lot, of course, is where we're having the drive-through Halloween, and we've done other things in the past. It met 9 categories. And then the front parking lot met 10 parameters. So, you know, that's a spot where we've had the food trucks, been holding Food Truck Friday. But the main emphasis on the parameters were parking, the vendor space, electricity, and whether, you know, we're going to have to pay something on it to rent them. You know, a couple of the other spots that were looked at that included Roanoke Street, the old CHS, the EMS spot, and some private other spots, including Wade's. But the parameters, then we broke them down. These were the top 5 by the parameters that we had set. There's a total of, in that total list, there were 11 private and 6 public that were in the top 30. So we did look at a lot of private spots, including, you know, some of those had been mentioned in the past. Now, the skate park parking lot and the Aquatic Center overflow lot, I talked with Terry Caldwell this morning. She said that, you know, that she agreed that it is very visible, but the problem would lead itself into or lend itself to be possibly a conflict with some of the activities they do once the restrictions are lifted, and especially going into May until, you know, October of next year, that could be some conflict in the parking that they would need. The Pepper Street private lot, again, is a private lot. It's somewhat limited to parking. And I can share, if you'd like, I've got satellite views of all these spots. I can go ahead and share them here, Andrew. Can everybody see that?
No.
Oh yeah, you can't see. I'm sorry.
Hey, Marty.
No.
All right, this is the Hardee's Takeout. This is the Hardee's one. If you look on Pepper Street, that is the lot in question. As many as 20 parking spots will be there. You know, the question is then where would we have overflow parking, whether it be down Pepper Street in the Hardee's parking lot or over to the courthouse.
Courthouse and everything.
All right, now.
Who owns that piece of property, Marty?
I've got it listed for 2 private owners that we have contacted.
Is it the Siemens and?
No, someone else, I think, on that one. The Aquatic Center, as you can see, the spot on at the skate park is wide open, but the problem is it's been so busy lately. Terry was concerned that that might be a problem just because of conflict there. Then you've got the lower lot down at the Aquatic Center, which usually fills up for those events, is one spot that we were looking at. It is visible from North Franklin. All right.
Marty, what happened to the other parking lot on the left side? Isn't that owned by the town? That's owned by the town, right?
That's correct. That's the overflow lot. That is included in what we looked at. And then, of course, the recreation center, it'd be on the right up here in the far corner near North Franklin. And that back lot where we have done Truck or Treat and we're doing the Halloween event this weekend. So those are both very visible. They do have parking spots. They do have access to bathrooms, and they do have electricity. So those 5 met the parameters, but you know, there are others that met you know, fewer parameters that we can talk about. But what I would like is for this committee to consider, whether it's this meeting or the next scheduled meeting, some recommendations from the Central Business Committee to go back to council, because it would be very good for my vendors to know here shortly at the first of the year where they might have a farmer's market and they can start looking at their plans.
Marty, I might have
Can I
missed it,
ask-
but did you show St. Paul's? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Yes, hang on. Let me show you that.
Maddie, when you talk to Brian Epperly, that back door to the rec center, it will be able to be accessible for the farmer's market if it was to be put up on the back of the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, let me get back and I'll share that so you can see the St. Paul one.
Now, Marty, I do need to ask you too, are you running this through Brad to come through the Parks and Rec Commission to council? Or are you looking for just central business to do it? Because it seems like it falls under more of Parks and Rec right now.
Well, this part, I feel like it should still come under central business, because central business is the one that needs to make the recommendation to council. So that's why I was bringing it to you and then bringing it, you know, the parameters that we have looked at, and here's the breakdown. Can you see right now the St. Paul Methodist parking lot would be towards the rear. In order not to restrict them, I would try to have, hopefully we would try to have it to the right side of their parking lot. And if you've ever seen, they have yard sales and stuff in the parking lot at different times. And I have sent a list of parameters of what to expect out of a farmer's market setup, what they would expect. And they were taking it to the board of directors last week. I have not heard back from them, but I haven't been in discussion with them.
Yeah, I mean, our understanding that, you know, since the market was a downtown, you know, at a permanent downtown location, that it would be, you know, it would be a central business item, and therefore the temporary location, while it may land outside of downtown, it could, you know, it would still be within central business. And Marty was doing the legwork and in coordination with Brad to come up with and really do a great job of narrowing it down, because we did have a lot of, when we came up with the criteria, we had a lot of criteria, and then we had you know, a lot of properties on the list to go through and to kind of whittle down. One item when talking to DCI, you know, they said, well, it would be great if it could remain in downtown. They said if it can't, is there an opportunity to do a pop-up market maybe once a month or so? And that's something that came up, Marty, that I haven't been able to share with you, but that was something that whether it's a supplementary market or something, but at least to have that presence downtown through this, what will be a 2-year period.
Well, I know what we discussed and council has discussed your timetable. The timetable will be late summer for any of the project to start on Hickok Street.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility we could do some pop-up markets maybe before that.
Yeah.
The key thing here is I really feel we need to start somewhere and finish somewhere the same spot, just for the vendors, our vendors, and our market and visibility. Wherever we're going to be for the August, September, and October, we should go ahead and try to start there. That's
I agree.
The idea behind a temporary site.
Marisa, I do appreciate you mentioning that too, because that was one of the questions that we had as far as the Parks and Rec too, about the farmers market. I personally think that it will also be a good idea just to even mention this a little bit to the Parks Rec Commission department, just so they can kind of say, hey, I do think that this is good. Brad Epperly has also said in the past that, the Parks and Rec parking lot, where they close the other entrance off of Franklin Street, it really helps the Parks and Rec to have actually more spaces available, even for the farmers market.
And I think that's very visible. I mean, that's the key thing. It is the largest intersection, and probably most cars in Christiansburg, at least coming into the downtown area. And I agree, I would like to keep it in the downtown area, but the problem is there's two things working against us. There is no other property in the downtown area. And then if we look at some of the public property, including the one you mentioned, Ms. Hicks, we're going to have to do a lot of construction and put some money into it. And I don't think that now's the time for the town to even think about having to worry about that expense.
What about if we were to use like the basketball place, where it's flat and everything else? There is not a lot that you have to do in there right now. We look at that from my office. I can see the basketball place not really being used at all. I see it. I see the Depot Street one used all the time, but necessarily that part of the park is really not in use as much as Brad thinks it is. So I guess, go ahead.
You've got two factors there: the lack of parking and the lack of flat land. Most of the vendors would like to be able to pull into the market and be able to sell out of their vehicles, either adjacent to their vendor booth or at their vehicle themselves. And that doesn't lend itself right now to doing that as a temporary.
Isn't there going to be, because this can all be also parked over here to College Street, and people can park on Hickok Street as well?
Yeah, I don't know any reference to that, but I do know that that's what my vendors have asked for, that they have a flat area that they can pull in and some work out of their vehicles. That has been one of the hindrances over the years of the tight quarters.
So Marty, if you had to make a decision, what do you think is in the town's best interest? What location?
Well, when I look at it from what we've experienced this year, what we've had to deal with this year, we need certain things. I wouldn't necessarily point out a certain location, but we need certain things. We need electricity. That hindered some of the vendors. Some would like to have cooling and with their meat and frozen products. We do have power at Hickok Street. I know I've had to turn away a lot of food vendors that could come, but we didn't have the electricity for them. Most of them have used generators. The other big thing is to have a flat area and paved area. And we need some form of a parking nearby. You're talking about 20 to 30 vendors. They're going to have a place to park to start with. And then you're hoping that anywhere from 20 to 30 more vehicles come every 30 minutes to an hour as your patrons. So you're talking 60 to 80 parking spots. So that's a big thing right there. So you got electricity, flat, something that we don't have to pay money for right now, that won't cost us a lot of money, electricity and the parking area.
Can you
Conversations.
put up a poll for AEP and allow a separate cost to be billed to the town from that, wherever we decide to go? Is that an option?
Well, if it was a private sites, I think that would be up to the private ownership. The public could be up to the town. And in a lot of the cases, you know, we already have electricity. We have electricity coming off at the skate park down at the lower lot. We will have electricity in the upper lot of the recreation center coming off the new sign. We already have electricity in the rear. You know, out of the 5 spots, the other one would be, you know, we're just looking at a private spot. It would be completely up to the ownership.
When you had those conversations with the Presbyterian Church, what were their comments about? Like, where did they, because I know they have their food drives over there too, right? But I do believe those are on Tuesdays, if I'm not wrong. I thought they had some on Thursdays too, but.
Yeah.
We really haven't talked to the Presbyterian Church this year about doing anything on their lot, but they have been open to parking. But to get back to your question, Marissa, you know, the recreation center front lot is the best location, meeting all the parameters.
I understand. Okay. I would definitely, before this, I feel like if Sam agrees, this committee to make a decision, I would like to have Brad Epperly involved.
Well, Brad has been involved in looking at these sites and looking at the parameters the whole time.
Has been definitely very involved helping with this. Yeah.
And to see,
Marty.
Go ahead, Sam.
Marty,
Yes, sir.
did you say you had a list of, you have noted down to at least 5 locations?
Yes, that's correct. That was the 5 that
All
I,
right.
3 public and
All
2.
right. Right. And my opinion, of course, right now is I prefer to keep it on town properties. And, you know, I talked to the vendors last year and year before last when we thought it was going to shut down Hickok Street. And a lot of them were in favor of using the rec center. And that's what I'm leaning towards. And, you know, once again, keeping Brad Epperly and that group involved in this, because once again, you know, it is the rec center's property and we don't want them to feel like we're just going to walk in and take over.
Yeah, and we have talked about it. Brad and myself and the special events group up here have talked about it, that, you know, the front lot would lend itself to do more special events and the farmer's market.
Okay.
Are you done, Sam?
I just wanted to
Say
add,
what?
we can try to promote Brad as well. Melissa, would you mind promoting Brad? He had just been listening as an attendee, but
Okay.
Okay.
if that would be helpful.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hi, Brian.
Great.
Hey
Doing
there.
okay.
Hey, Brad, this is Sam. I'm here, but I'm not visible. But
Hello,
I'm here.
Sam.
Hey, man.
Good to
Go
hear your
ahead.
voice.
So
Aw.
Brad, after discussing all of these, the options and realizing that Parks and Rec parking lot may be the best place for it, I'd like to get your feedback on how you arrived at this and how you feel that it's the best decision.
So, you know, we went through a variety of different parameters and looked at what would be best in the best interest of the vendors, what would be in the best interest of the town, and really what would be in the best interest of the market. And, you know, while downtown is where we would love to have it, and obviously, you know, in the future, whenever Hickok Street is repaired, you know, that hopefully that's what goes to. But in the meantime, in this couple of years of doing some things down in the downtown area, we want to try to keep this market rolling. You know, I think that Marty has done a great job. Our department has done a great job this year of improving the market, bringing more people involved to the market, more vendors involved. And, you know, we sort of got to run and start now. And I just really don't want to let that slide away. And, you know, in looking at the different locations, to be honest with you, the recreation center area met a large majority of the needs, whether it be visibility from the road, whether it's the availability to have electrical power there, restrooms, accessible location, you know, it's already paved, the town owns it. All of those things came into play, and probably, to be honest with you, what helped seal the deal a little bit more for me in that location is the North Franklin project. When that entrance and exit was shut there, that's just an open area over there and no one is entering and exiting in that area. So it provides a much more safer environment for the vendors as well as the customers that are coming for that particular area. The other part that I think is beneficial with the recreation center is, one, it's just from a mobility standpoint, you know, it's here, so it's much easier for our staff and those types of things as well. The other part of it is you know, as I mentioned, the visibility of North Franklin. I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine that's probably one of the busier intersections in Christiansburg. So just from a sheer traffic standpoint, I think we would have an opportunity to really do some neat marketing with it. You know, we're getting these digital signs. That's another area that we can promote with the market on those particular days. And for that matter, we could even, you know, do some things along for vendors and those types of things, as far as specials and stuff like that, that even promotes it even more. So I just think it gives us a better option and a better opportunity. You know, one of the other areas that is in the downtown area that was appealing to me was the area there at Hardee's, but it's privately owned. And I did reach out to the owners of that location and talked with them about it. And they were open to it. They would want us to do some type of a proposal to them. And I think the money aspect would probably be minimal, but the biggest issue with that area is I don't know that we have enough space to be able to accommodate all the vendors, the parking and those types of things. So that's where we run into a little bit of issue on that location. But I hope that answers what you were looking for.
Hey, Brian, you guys, I didn't see, when I saw that list of the locations, I did not see the one about behind Wells Fargo, where the owners own all of that land. Were you guys able to communicate with the owner, the lady?
I'm not exactly sure of the location that you're referring to.
It's right behind the parking lot behind the Wells Fargo.
Yeah,
Where the police cars
believe
park?
Right. Yeah, I think because of, you know, the amount of parking demand in that area already, and not knowing kind of what is happening at the Wells Fargo building, you know, as far as what the next tenant will be in their parking demand. And I think when we first started talking about this, we thought they would be there forever, you know.
I have saved up that number for even the manager that manages all those properties and stuff. They're thinking about also closing down that drive-through for their bank. So that's also a really good, I think. I mean, the whole parking lot is huge.
It's fairly size. I mean, it does narrow down, and then we do use some of the parking for you know, for police, mostly personal vehicles on the police force, and then it's certainly something that, you know, we could talk to them about. I'm not sure kind of where they are with redevelopment. I mean, they had talked about potentially redeveloping that site, you know, and even filling in the buildings, even moving potentially if Wells Fargo wanted it. This has been a little while, but, you know, moving the drive, the ATM, so that you would have a building up on the street, which would be really desirable for that, you know, for that frontage along North Franklin. So it, as far as the spacing, yeah, I mean, we can circle back around and look at that space. Interesting to hear kind of, what St. Paul's comes back with as well. But I mean, again, if the committee wanted to move forward with a recommendation today, I mean, I think, a couple of concerns about St. Paul's would be the visibility plus power, and figuring out those types of details. And,
I like the
Andrew?
Parks and Recs too, location. Thank you for doing that homework.
Andrew, if you're
Yes.
asking for a recommendation, are you asking for recommendations today? Because if you are, I'm ready to give mine right now.
Yeah, we were kind of, playing it by ear, but I mean, it sounded like, you all were kind of going in that direction. So wanted to kind of bring Brad on and see if there were any final questions.
Right.
If they're
Right.
in a position to do that, then yeah, I think that'd be great.
Well,
I feel
Well, right
comfortable,
now-
Sam.
right now, I am strongly leaning for the rec center. One, for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, it's already town owned. I understand these other locations may be good, but they may say, okay, you have to stay here for 6 months, then you got to go. I just think we need a location that we know we can be there until we move back downtown. So right now, I'm saying rec center.
Sam, I concur with that. So I feel like at the next council meeting, you could recommend our position.
Yeah, sounds good.
Would you
Brad, you
guys
still there?
like to send a list to town council with the number 5 and the one that was recommended by the central business to town council members, to the other ones? Or is that something, I know the Parks and Rec, I'm all for it. I think it's an awesome idea because of all the things that you guys mentioned, also because of the liability that, when we do not have and we do not use town property, there may be a lot of issues that we may be dealing with.
Well, I'm sure we can tell that we have.
Ask any questions that they wanted to, and Brad could be available, or Marty, to pitch like they normally would, and that's when it would come up at that time.
Okay.
Right, I agree. I agree
We
with
could have the
that.
layout available as well, potential layout available
Mhm.
to refer to if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think it
But
would be good
that's
to-
one reason too why we do have these subcommittees, is to make recommendations, and council relies on that. Much like street committee, we're not engineers, or I'm not, so I need to rely on that committee to do what they do best. So I just don't want to have a full 30-minute discussion at council because I don't think it's warranted.
We can supply you with the same list that we have right now of the 5 showing the parameters, and the parameters broken down and how many categories each met and what the recreation center lot met.
If we were to, or if you guys were to make the just recommendation to just move on it with the today, I mean, I think, wouldn't it be better for Marty and Brian, everybody, just to make those, because it seems like they do want an answer pretty quickly.
Well, I mean,
I think we have to wait for council decision, don't we, Andrew? We can't make this decision, only a recommendation.
I think it would be best to get the full council,
Okay.
nod at least on this. Plus, I mean, we are, I think, I know, Marty would have loved to have this, a few weeks ago, and just with, just that unfortunately didn't happen. And I wish, we had time to be able to get all the vendors on board before. But I mean, hopefully we'll have a market tomorrow, but that may not even happen. So we're in a position where we're kind of, I think if we had to wait until the first meeting in November and then we renounced it after that, I still think the momentum is there from this past market, that people haven't kind of shelved it for the winter, the idea of a farmer's market. So I think it's still going to be fresh enough. that it could have.
I think the good part is you know, if definitely if council could make that decision, you know, the first meeting in November, there are a lot of vendors that are our normal vendors that will probably also be at the Christmas market. So it'll give us an opportunity then for Marty to talk to them in person, but he also will be sending things out electronically to those vendors, letting them know up front where we are. And I think if we can do that prior to the end of the year, I just think that it makes things a lot easier and a lot better, because vendors like to know what their future holds and where they're going to be so they can start planning. And I think if we can do that in this amount of time, I think it'll work out just fine.
Sam, do you just want to add it into action by council then?
I do, and like I said, I don't see why we can't go ahead and move forward with this. I mean, it's just, and like you said earlier, a lot of time council depend on us to bring the recommendation to them. Now, would it hurt to have a 5 or 10 minute presentation by Marty or Brad? Probably not, but I think we can go ahead and move forward with this on our next meeting. Council
I
meeting.
agree. Okay, so Andrew, if you're good, Sam, if you're good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Sounds great.
And
Thank
were
you
were you all
all.
open to the idea of potentially, you know, pop-up market still downtown, you know, working with Marty, see kind of how that could be weaved in?
I absolutely would. I would keep that vibe going downtown as much as we can.
Yeah,
But you still also have to come up with a temporary location for down there. And if it's gonna be a pop-up location, that means probably less vendors and everything else. So possibility of looking at other sites, like even maybe a private owner will want to do those as well. I don't know, you know, maybe.
Well, I know that I personally in this committee, I don't want to micromanage that. I'm leaving it up to Marty to discuss any pop-ups. That's kind of.
well, we will still have access to Hickok Street up until
Right.
July and August, that we could do something like a pop-up market at times. So
Right.
appreciate, thank you all for moving ahead with this, because you know, my vendors have sort of been out on an island waiting to hear this. And, you know, I think this will get us, you know, help us with planning going into next year. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks,
Thank you
Marty.
all.
Andrew, you still there?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
we are under other items now, other business. And the couple items that the Councilwoman Sachs had asked to be put on the agenda. And one was the downtown holiday tree lights, and I do have a little bit of information on that. And then the other was a local business, what I'm calling a Bucks program, but it's kind of a matching program that we can talk about with some into some details as well. As far as the downtown holiday tree lights, we are planning to put those up. And so I talked with Travis Moles in our Public Works Department earlier today, and they're going to start decorating the week of November 16th downtown with all the holiday decorations. And they're expecting to have the tree lights definitely done by, you know, they're shooting, we are shooting for before Thanksgiving. It'll probably be done later that week of the 16th. But it would definitely be done. The following week is Thanksgiving, so they would look to do it those first 2 days of Thanksgiving week, if not before.
Hold on, so the lights, when is Public Works putting them up when again?
So all the decorations, the holiday decorations on the light poles and such will that'll start on November 16th.
November?
And we're hoping, you know, that if you think of,
I like that.
traditionally the holiday season starts after Thanksgiving, so you know they would be.
I love that they're starting early, so at least we get to enjoy some of the Christmas spirit. So that's awesome.
And then the other item, and I'm not sure if you'd like to kind of start that one off.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
So Sam, what we're looking at here is this morning at the combined mayor's meeting, Blacksburg is starting to implement a program, and that is going to be a matching fund program using CARES money, and they're going to do a match. So if you spend $50 on purchasing a gift card for businesses in Blacksburg, the CARES money matches that and you get to spend $100. So the town is infusing up to $50,000 with a potential increase to $100,000, coupled with the retail purchasers to influx money into their small businesses. And I thought this was absolutely a brilliant idea. There's no better way to get people to shop local before Christmas if their money goes further. So we're helping support our tax revenue. We're supporting our local businesses in general, keeping them open. And there's no set industry. It's not like we're supporting restaurants only or supporting retail only. You can go get your car worked on as long as that business signed up for the program and a local bank is administering it. So Mayor Hager-Smith was open to talking to us and giving us her notes if we are interested in something similar. So I wanted to bring it to this committee because I think it's a fabulous idea. And I'd like to be able to talk to council about it, possibly even Thursday night during our budget, because that's the money that we may be using to supplement something of this nature, and have a recommendation from our committee that this would really help our business community. So I'm looking for your feedback, Mr. Bishop.
Okay. At the very end, you cut off.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking for feedback.
Oh, okay. Well, because I really don't have a big picture, but you're saying you would like to take this to town council, of course, and they can decide yay or nay. And you want to try to do this on Thursday?
Yes, because that's the date that we're deciding our CARES Act funding.
Okay.
And I think that we've missed a huge opportunity to help our businesses in this way. And one, it'll already save us a bunch of time because Blacksburg is on board and they're willing to talk to us. And I think it would be a wonderful for our whole area, not just a Blacksburg initiative, but the two town initiatives to do the same thing. And I would like to be able to pitch that so we can help our businesses directly in the pocket where they need it badly right now.
I think that's a better use for those $35,000 instead of investing them in tourism, investing them with the BACS program.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. I think tourism is also very important. You know, so that's a council decision. But I would like to be able to say that we discussed it and it's a recommendation. If you agree, Sam.
Well, no, I don't have a problem with that. Once again, it's just we have to keep in mind Thursday night's going to probably be a long night. So is the town mayor from Blacksburg going to show up Thursday, or is she going to do this later on?
Well, she just gave her presentation this morning. And so if you agreed, I would reach out to her and ask her to share with Randy or Mike her information so they can bring it to the table and have it vetted that way. It wouldn't go through us. It would have to, you know, town manager would be the one to initiate this.
Okay, it's just keeping us in. Okay, I have no problem with it because right now I would like to learn more. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Okay.
I was just going to add, I do think that, yeah, some of this staff will need to kind of figure out some of the details as well, a little bit more.
Okay.
The Blacksburg Partnership is a private nonprofit, and they're the ones that are going to be ministering the program. So the money would be coming through the town to Blacksburg Partnership for them to administer.
What was the name of the other partnership people that are doing this?
So it's called Blacksburg Partnership. It's a group that's been in place for about 10 years. It was formed by the town of Blacksburg and Virginia in the business community. And so they promote businesses within the town. So and do different programs, they do different events townwide. So in these types of situations, it's a very handy group. We would have to do it internally if we were going to do it. I do think there's also a question, because we've had this concern with small business grants as well as nonprofit grants that have come up through our through the current grant programs we're administering, and that we just need to kind of ferret out how we are how we're working through the issue of third party, like a sub-recipient type of situation, where before we have said that we were not going to give money to people that are going to give services or money directly to someone else. So because then we could not track that money once it gets down past, the people we give dollars to. So we're looking at operational expenses and things that have been purchased for PPE and other COVID related expenses, to reimburse. And so that's a question that I would have, and the county will need to be involved with that as well. And they were on that call this morning, so they may be talking about that internally as well.
Could I ask you or Randy to try to make that phone call to Blacksburg and see if we can't get enough information to present the skeleton bones of the idea for tomorrow night?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Because that way, if it's going to be too hard for Christiansburg, then, it's an idea, but we move on.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to have a little bit more info, because like this just happened this morning. So there's not been a whole lot of time. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it would be great. It would be interesting to know why they're using the nonprofit to distribute dollars, if they felt like they could not do it from a town perspective. Right, exactly. So yeah, we'll look in. Yeah, I'll reach out to Chris Lawrence and get that information. That's great. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. And I did want to mention too, Randy and I did talk Friday afternoon with the group Local Light, which is doing, they have a special app that you could purchase, and in restaurants and just different businesses, they're going by the hashtag Save Blacksburg, but when in the news write-up, they said, they want to have a regional approach. So we contacted them and said, I'm sure some of our businesses would like to be involved in this. And they wrote back and said, yes, a couple are already, and we'd love to have others as well. So basically, it's where people can purchase gift cards, from the businesses and through their website. And it recently had a news article about it. It seemed like a pretty neat, fresh idea, and it was kind of capitalizing on, on people that went to school here and then live away and want to support this area. So it's places that fondly remember Starlight Drive-In and Farmhouse and Dude's Drive-In and different restaurants. So when their time here. So I think it has that appeal. Plus, it just has an appeal of it could be a good way to purchase gift cards. So,
okay.
I at least appreciate the conversation on it and learning a little bit more.
Well, but this was that was the first time I think Randy had heard about it yesterday, and then we were kind of trying to figure it out right before the council meeting, and then found out more about it today. So okay. So we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other business to come to this committee?
No, sir.
All right. If not, I would say the Central Business Committee meeting has adjourned, and thank y'all. Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Andrew, give me a call.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming. All right, bye-bye.